So it's within that framework that I welcome you to our home. We wish we could be here in person with you, but because of the pandemic, we're here via the webinar. And this is an opportunity to explain to you about our college, what goes on here. So we're going to have an overview of the college. We're going to have the chance to hear from the academic program directors as to the specific programs that we offer, and then provide some information about the technical aspects, so to speak, of admission into our programs, and then also give you a chance to ask questions, and we will answer those questions. And with regard to questions, you will note that on your computer, there is a function, the Q&A, down in the bottom right of the screen. And please take a look at that if you want to submit questions, and submit to all panelists, and then you'll be able to get the questions to us. You click on the 3 dots, and then it takes you to Q&A, and then type in your questions right there. So with that in mind, let me just give you a little bit of background about the College of Law, which graduated its first class in 2018. We are a world-class provider of legal education. And in particular, we have an international faculty and international student body. We have very high standards in terms of the quality of teaching and expectations that we have of our students, as well as innovation in the way in which we are teaching. We are situated in the heart of the Middle East, as you know, at a major trading center, and Doha has been very active in areas, whether it be with regard to trade regulation or international developing standards for international criminal conduct and the like. The university was established before the law school, but the sense was there was a need to have a law school to prepare leaders, in effect, to be able to work in Qatar and beyond, to deal with the myriad of new problems would likely develop, and have those graduates able to work in the legal traditions that shape the law here in Qatar and beyond. And so we take a comparative law perspective to the subjects of law, focusing on the civil law, the common law, and Sharia. And so we offer 3 degree programs here at the College of Law: the Juris Doctor degree, and I'll just give you a little bit of information about that, and then Professor Hilary Bell will be providing you some more information. And then our 2 Master of Law degrees, known as the LLM. We have the LLM in International Economic and Business Law, as well as the LLM in International Law and Foreign Affairs. And Professor Oluway will be providing information about the LLM programs. We have 9 nationalities here in the college. We have a number of Qataris. 73% of our student body consists of Qataris. We're immensely proud of our students, and in particular our alums. Our students are very active in the community here, and they have an active law society engaged in a whole host of issues. But our alums have gone on to pursue graduate degrees, the Master of Laws, the LLMs, at prominent law schools in the United States. We have those listed there, but Duke, Georgetown, Harvard, New York University School of Law, as well as in Europe, the Graduate Institute of Geneva. And after getting the JD degree, our graduates have gone on to work in the legal department of Qatar Petroleum, in working in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Qatar Financial Center, and also in prominent law firms. And so it is the opportunities that you have while here at HBKU Law, in terms of both the substantive learning as well as the relationships that you will build while you are here, we believe, open up these doors for our graduates. Now, none of this is possible without an amazing faculty whom we are just honored to have. Some of them are with us today. We have a faculty that has been educated at some of the best law schools around the world, including Oxford, Cambridge, Heidelberg, Harvard, Yale, and University of Virginia. I'll say my alma mater, University of Texas. And some of them are with us here today, and I would like to introduce you to the ones who are here, and then I'll also introduce you to those who couldn't be here because we actually have classes going on as I speak right now. So if I could first introduce you to Professor Azanaga, Alexander Azinaga, who is one of our recent new hires to the faculty, an expert in tax law, and who did his PhD at McGill University in Canada and the LLM in at Cambridge University. Dr. Alexander, do you want to say a few words?
It's great to be here today, and I do hope that at the end of this session we would have many interest from the participants, and we look forward to having you join the College of Law. Thank you, Susan.
Great, thank you so much, Professor Azanaga. And then I would also like to introduce you to our Assistant Dean of Students and also a professor here, Professor Barry Solomon, who has expertise in the area of healthcare law, as well as constitutional law and the law of torts. And he did his PhD at Cambridge University. Professor Solomon?
Hello, thank you, Dean. Delighted to have you all here today. We've got a great turnout. So happy to answer any questions that you may have after the presentations, and hopefully we can meet in person down the line.
Great, thank you so much. And I see next on the screen, I'm going just by the way, appearances in the screen here, Professor Damilo Oluway, who is an expert in the area of environmental law, energy law, and sustainability. He's also our Associate Dean for Research, and he did his PhD at Oxford University and the LLM at Harvard, right? Yeah, that other school there in the United States. Do you want to say a few words, please?
Thank you, Dean, and it's my pleasure to be with you all. As Dean mentioned, I work in areas of oil and gas, energy, mining, environment, and the like. So for those of you interested in learning about the oil and gas business and the legal issues associated with it, I would be interested in working with you, and I look forward to having you join us at this wonderful law school. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Oluway. And next on the screen I see is Professor D Metropolis, who works in the area of administrative law, a lot of comparative law as well, and has been writing a good bit lately in the area of cryptocurrencies and also specialized international commercial courts. Professor D Metropolis got his PhD at Heidelberg, as well as the LLM at Yale Law School. Professor D Metropolis.
Thank you so much, Dean Susan. I would like to welcome everybody to our info session. We really hope that you will be inspired to work and study with us over the course of the next couple of months. You know, we've been very happy having graduated many wonderful students in the past couple of years, and we hope that you will join them in this common endeavor. Please do not hesitate to reach out to each and every one of us if you will have questions at the end. I personally, as the Dean said, work in various areas of, regulation, as well as international economic law, trade, investment, as well as the law of new technologies. And many of our students, past students, have gone on to pursue careers in the relevant fields. And I look forward on my behalf to helping you develop expertise in these and many more areas. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor D Metropolis. Professor D Metropolis is also our Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. So And then it gives me great pleasure to introduce Professor Hilary Bell, who is the JD coordinator and who will be speaking with you today a little bit more about our JD program, who holds her LLB from the University of Glasgow and the LLM from Robert Gordon University. And Professor Bell teaches legal research and writing, as well as trial advocacy, and she coaches our moot court teams, and particularly this year we have a very active student moot court team in the William C. Viss International Arbitration Moot Court. Professor Bell.
Thank you, Susan. I'm very happy to be speaking at this event. I'm always delighted when we get the opportunity to tell people who don't know as much about our degree as they may like. And sorry, all of our degrees. Here's me just focusing on my degree, the JD, because I'm the coordinator, and I'll be speaking to you about that in just a moment, the aspects of the JD degree. But we're delighted to have the opportunity to tell you what we're doing at the college and tell you how you can become a part of that. We're very excited to hear what questions the people attending tonight have. You must let us know, what would you like to know from us? We've anticipated what wonderful things we can share with you, but please ask questions. We will be answering your questions at the end. Let us know what we can do to convince you to come and join us at HBKU Law.
Great, thank you so much, Professor Bell. I think the faculty who are with us today I've introduced. If I could just briefly, if there's somebody else here, I don't see them on the screen, but let me just briefly introduce a few more of the faculty. Again, as I indicated, we have class from 4 to 8 p.m., so professors will be teaching. Professor Bantikas is the LLM coordinator. And he works, his research and teaching is in the area of international law and international dispute resolution. And he's one of the experts in the region on human rights law. And then Professor Zachary Khalo is a professor of freedom of religion and other aspects of the Constitution, but also has a degree in history. And he is also active in sports law. He teaches our sports law course and has been focusing recently a lot in alternative dispute resolution. And
he's also here if you need me to go public.
Thank you so much,
yes,
Professor Khalo.
I've been hiding. I'm the one who didn't wear a suit today, but I promise I had a suit on all day, and I made the mistake of wearing new shoes, and my feet are killing me, so I had to get comfortable before I could join you all. But
great, thank you, Professor Khalo. Say a few words about yourself. Then I didn't see you on the screen, but please say a few words.
I'm good in communicado mode. No, yeah, I think you said the essentials, but I work in sport law and alternative dispute resolution, especially mediation, and then also international comparative religion and law, and I've been here since the very beginning. So I was part of the founding faculty in 2015. I came from a law school in the U.S. and like the dean, hold a JD as well. So look forward to your questions and our conversations and to being in touch. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Professor Khalo. And then Professor Polymenopoulos, I don't see her on the camera here, but Professor Polymenopoulos is an expert in the area of international human rights law, and also her focus recently has been on cultural heritage. And so she had a fellowship with University College London here working on cultural heritage law. And this is important to the region, as many of you know. And so she also teaches,
Hi.
Hey, Professor Polymenopoulos.
Yes, hi, I'm so sorry. For some reason, it's just, I couldn't, I joined as an attendee and I just couldn't turn my video on. But just to say thank you, and nice to be here. Nice to see such a great turnout, such a great interest in our JD. So yes, as everyone said, please don't hesitate to ask questions. My areas, as Dean Karamanyan says, is mostly human rights law, cultural law, I also teach a course on media law, and looking forward to hearing from you and hearing from everyone questions, and looking forward to meeting you also at some point soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Polymenopoulos. And then finally, we have Aisha Onama, who is a lecturer here at the college. Now, Aisha, I know is not here because she had indicated that she had another matter come up, but Aisha is a graduate of our law school. She did the Juris Doctor degree here. And before that, she had done her degree at Virginia Commonwealth. And her area of interest is in intellectual property law. And I think it's a fascinating area coming from Virginia Commonwealth, where there's a strong focus on design. How do you protect the work of artists? How do you protect the work of inventors? And through a body of law known as intellectual property law, patent law, trademarks, and copyright is the focus of her current research, and seeing how relevant norms are developing throughout the Middle East and Asia and the like. And we will be having another faculty member officially joining us shortly, who also has had extensive experience in the practice of law, and we'll be making that announcement shortly as well, but to bring us expertise in some of the corporate business law, but also in the area of international humanitarian law. And so the College of Law, in addition to the faculty and our students, is at the heart of it, of course, are the courses and the degrees. And you're going to hear more from Professor Bell about our Juris Doctor degree. It's a 3-year degree in law, and it's a degree that you get after you've taken your first degree from university. And so the courses are divided into foundational courses, professional skills training, specific courses that may be of interest to you, such as sports law or media law or law and technology. And also having courses that are relevant to Qatar and the region, and you can see those courses listed. So Professor Bell will be giving you more information about the 3-year Juris Doctor degree. Just by way of background, this is the degree that was established when the law school first opened in 2015. And as Professor Khalo indicated, he holds the JD degree, and I hold a Juris Doctor degree as well. And in the United States, the sentiment many years ago was that lawyers, to be an effective lawyer, you need training in an area of specialty first. So for example, I did actually 6 years of economics. So you get a bachelor's, even a master's, and then with that specialization, whether it be in biology, engineering, international relations, whatever that undergraduate degree is, you're going to come into a law school with a specialized background that could be relevant to the law, but law is about learning certain skills and ways to resolve problems, and understanding legal principles and application of those principles to new problems and the like. And so it's not the first degree in law, it's a graduate degree, but it's a graduate degree in law. And then we also offer 2 Master of Laws, and you'll learn more about this from Professor Oluway, the LLM in International Economic and Business Law, which has certain courses as they're identified here, and he'll explain those more to you. But also it has the 6 credits for the thesis, and the LLM in International Law and Foreign Affairs. Again, 31 credits, core courses, and then the 6 credits for the thesis. And the Master of Laws is a way for students to focus on specialized subjects. And in selecting these 2 subjects, we determined a couple of years ago that Qatar, as an economic hub, there was a need for expertise in the area of economic and business law. Similarly, given the geopolitical importance of Qatar, the need for expertise in the area of international law and foreign affairs, and our LM degrees are designed to meet those specific needs. So before I pass the floor officially over to Professor Bell, I also would like to recognize Lana Asfour, who's here with us today. And Lana is the head of admissions here at Hamad bin Khalifa University, and she'll be providing us some information about the admissions process. And I would like to also acknowledge my colleagues, Nisha Dougal, who is the executive assistant to the college, who can answer questions that may come in as well as Sandia Manis, who is on the call today, who is our graduate programs coordinator, as well as our special events coordinator. Both Anisha and Sandia are instrumental to the success of our of the college and the programs, and so we welcome them too. So with that, I would now like to pass the floor over to Professor Bell, who will provide us more information about the 3-year Juris Doctor program. Thank you so much, Professor Bell.
Thank you so much for that, Susan. Wonderful overview of the college and everything, and the faculty. Our strongest feature, our faculty, what we have to offer. I'd like to remind everyone to direct questions in the Q&A, but I would also like to remind you that all the questions will be answered at the end. So if you have posted questions to the Q&A, we will be addressing them. All the questions will be addressed at the end. Before we go over some of the features of the JD, I would like to point out the entry requirement for the JD is a 3.0 grade point average in your original degree. As Dean Susan has explained, you need an original undergraduate degree to take the Juris Doctor. It is an absolute requirement that you got a 3.0 GPA. If you're not sure how to convert your GPA, there are usually features online. If you Google it, you can usually do a rough conversion, failing which please contact our admissions department for further information as to whether you will qualify for the degree. Another really important piece of information is to let you know that there is no scholarship funding available for JD students. If you are an overseas student hoping to come to Qatar and have your housing paid for and some form of stipend, there is nothing available. There is possibly some discount on your fees available, but that would be all. So please bear that in mind if you're interested in the JD. So why take a Juris Doctor at HBKU? Well, first and foremost, because it's designed for future leaders in Qatar. The JD was designed with that in mind. If you are already working, the JD is taught in the evenings between 4 and 8, and it helps you develop your career while you can still work. The classes, inshallah, come fall, will be taking place at Education City again, so the location is convenient if you're within Doha, and you'll be working with a network of lawyers and other leaders within Doha. You will make strong professional relationships with our network, HBKU's network, with your classmates, with the Doha community at large. You will learn how to analyse and write like a lawyer. A JD is a vocational education. What vocational education means is it trains you for the skills associated with a profession. And the skills associated with law are crucial in any leadership role. The ability to communicate strongly, to analyse and convey that to an audience. So any leadership role that you are planning or are currently in, your ability to conduct that would be enhanced with the skills that come with the law degree. Even if you don't intend to become a practicing lawyer, if you are in any form of leadership role, this degree would be beneficial. Another reason, if you're pursuing your career in Qatar and you're working for a Qatari organisation, the JD is recognised by the Ministry of Education as sitting between a master's and a PhD, because it's a professional doctorate. It's not a research degree like a PhD, but for the purposes of promotion, the Ministry of Education and most Qatari organisations would recognise that you would be entitled to the promotion that would normally be associated with holding a PhD. If you do a law degree, you will begin to see society, how society is regulated in a new way. You will think differently once you have taken a law degree. You will, whether you like it or not, become a proactive problem solver in all areas of your life. Next slide, please, Sandia. So what is a JD? As Dean Susan has said, it's a 3-year degree. Now that can sound very daunting, but bear in mind we only have 28 weeks of classes each year, followed by assessments, and the classes are 4 days a week between 4 and 8 in the evening. Now I'm not going to lie to you, it's a full-time degree, but most of our graduates have managed to obtain this degree and succeed in their studies while having a family and a full-time career. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying we have time and time again seen people thrive while undertaking this degree. Now it's based on the US model of law, which, as Dean Susan said, the model would be that you would take an undergraduate degree in another area and then take advanced studies in law. And this is a really good approach because you have already learned a subject through and through, and with the JD, it's a combination. You're not just learning the subject matter of law, you're learning the skills of how to put this knowledge into place. And that integrated approach of skills and education is really what gives the JD this unique approach to education. Now it's very rigorous. We have a focus on identifying problems, understanding these problems from a number of different perspectives, and then creating solutions in novel ways, finding different ways you will really hone your problem solving skills. So the Hbku Law Approach. Now the degree was developed in a strategic partnership with the Pritzker School of Law at Northwestern in Chicago. We worked with the experts there and the local expertise. What are the needs in Qatar? It was a collaboration. This is not simply a JD taken from the United States and brought over. This is try our method of education. Not at all. The experts at Education City and Hbku sat down and identified what needs do we have, looking at the Qatar national vision. How can we bring these skills into Qatar? And it was identified that a law degree was a very good way to do this. So our curriculum was developed very much in mind of developing lawyers and leaders for Qatar's future. Next slide. So our mission was to create a world-class law school with an international reputation for quality and innovation in teaching and research. And we're already doing that. That has been secured. We have had 4 graduating classes. And as Dean Susan said, our graduates have now got a leading reputation around the world. They've been accepted to, we have 2 students in Harvard this year. We have graduates from NYU, Georgetown, the Geneva Institute. We just had a student qualify, sorry, not a student, a graduate. I find it hard to let go. They're never not my student. You can be 10 years out of the programme, you'll still be a student in my heart. But we just had one of our graduates pass the New York bar and become a US qualified lawyer with the Hbku JD. We are very proud of our alumni and they're very much form part of our community. So what was the value proposition when we designed the JD? It was to find a site of specialised training for attorneys and those in related fields. Wasn't simply attorneys. Sandia, could you pop it back to the last slide so I can finish that sentence, which I can't do from memory? Thank you so much. And that was to handle legal and other issues. It's not purely dedicated to law. You will learn dispute resolution. You will find ways to add value to deals. You will negotiate in every day of your life, and you will find with this degree new ways to negotiate. You will also, as Dean Susan said, become aware of the complex local and global issues which we read about every day in the Tribune, but how these actually impact us legally. What are the legal implications of this that you may not be aware of at present? And our number one value proposition when we started the degree was to graduate leaders, not just lawyers. It's so much more value we want to bring with this degree than simply qualify you to become a lawyer. Thank you. Next slide. So the pedagogy, or sorry, rather the curriculum, these are the subjects that you will teach. Now, many of these touch on the LLM as well, but I'm going to defer to the wonderful Damilo to tell you about the LLM. So simply when we're talking about the JD, as Dean Susan said, we work in a comparative context. So you're going to learn how the civil law works. What is the civil law? The civil law is the legal system that's operating in Qatar just now. The Qatar Civil Code, the commercial law, the new public-private partnership law that's come into effect, how the laws operate in Qatar, how these are similar to other jurisdictions. For example, most of the Qatari Civil Code is based on the Egyptian Code, which was in turn based on the French Code. And so these are about 2/3 of the world operate very similar legal system to Qatar. In addition to that, you will learn how the other systems work, how the common law system works, where the common law is actually in play in Qatar today, and how that can be used, and how they interact. You will also learn about international law from some of our top international law experts that we have on the faculty. You will understand the interaction with the law here and the international laws that guide us here in Qatar. You will learn about public law, that's how administrations, how the ministries operate. And as Susan said, this is so much at play today with the way that society has been changed by COVID, how public law regulation has changed our society, how the Ministry of Public Health is operating to regulate that. You will also learn about private law. That's when you enter into a contract with another private individual, and how all of these things that affect us every day apply to you, and how you can become involved and understand and influence. Next slide. Now, we will not simply be teaching you in a straightforward lecture manner. You will learn the substance of these issues. You will learn about contract law, property law, how businesses operate, what happens if someone injures you, what are your legal liabilities if you injure somebody else. But you will also have skills courses that you will use to put this knowledge into operation. The entrepreneurship law course that we teach has won 2 innovation awards in the last 3 years. That this course is one of the students' favourites. You will learn how a business operates, how you can become an entrepreneur, how you can bring an idea to fruition. You will also learn how ethics play a role, not only in legal practice, but in all business practices. And then, after you have developed this initial understanding of the basic concepts of law and the basic skills you need to apply them, in the second half of the degree, the last 3 semesters, you will learn specialised courses that have been particularly designed for Qatar. You will learn about energy, oil and gas, global economic and trade law, which is very much at play here, Qatar being such a global hub. As Dean Susan said, you're going to learn about construction and infrastructure development, healthcare, sport and media, and advanced human rights. Next slide. Thank you. So as I said, you're not just going to learn by lecture. You will learn skills, you will learn in simulations. There will be experiential classes where you will take part in simulations as if you are a lawyer. We have close associations with, for example, the Qatar Dispute Resolution Centre, who last week came into one of our classes and taught simulations on negotiation. As I said, you will learn entrepreneurship skills. You will act as a stakeholder in a semester-long simulation of a transaction. Next slide. And the life cycle. It's not simply that you come in as a student, sit, passively obtain information for 3 years and then leave. That's not how the JD is. We're going to bring you in and you are going to be fully immersed in developing professional skills. You will come in and you will take part in at least 4 or 5 times a semester a colloquium or a majlis where you will have the opportunity to meet with international leaders in their field that will explain topical subjects to you and show you how they fit within your education as part of the JD. If you wish, you can take part in extracurricular activities, such as Susan said, I coach the moot court team. This is a 6-month-long programme where you take part in a competition with up to 350 teams from other law schools across the world and act as a genuine lawyer in a dispute. You will have all the work that a normal lawyer would take part in their daily life. You will write a case for your client and you will present it in front of real arbitrators. You will argue your case for your client. If you wish, we can organise internships for you at international law firms, or if you have an organisation in mind, we will do everything we can to set that up for you. We have so far been successful in arranging all sorts of internships. We've even had a student go to the International Court of Justice and intern there. All sorts of professional training opportunities are available to you if you come on board, and we're open to hearing your ideas on that. Many of our best collaborations have been initiated by students, and we're always open to hear what you would like to do. If you have any questions about the JD, please put them in the chat box. I will address them at the end. I just want to remind you all again, it's an absolute requirement that you have a 3.0 GPA to join the programme, and unfortunately we have no funding available. The best financial offer we could possibly make, some students may get a discount on their fees, but unfortunately that is all that is available. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Vell, for that overview of the JD program. If I could just say a couple of things that for those in the audience in particular, if they want to learn more about how active the College of Law is, we've had a number of webinars in the last six months. And some of them are on our website, and you can hit the link and watch them. I know Professor Bell was instrumental in putting together a webinar from last week dealing with current developments in arbitration. And we had experts from the faculty here as well as in the community speaking. We're going to have a webinar coming up shortly. I believe it's going to be this Sunday on vaccine distribution, and Professor Solomon will be involved in that. Professor D Metropolis heads up our events and has just arranged a rich series of these events, and a number of them have been with the Qatar International Court for Dispute Resolution, looking at substantive standards as well as procedural standards. How are we going to have courts in a time in which people cannot get in a room together, and because of the virus and the like? And that's just there's just samples of some of the activities that go on here. Now, if I could pass the floor over to Professor Oluway, who has been very active in hosting a number of our events as well over the past few months, to learn more about the LM programs.
Thank you, Dean Susan. And it's my pleasure again to be able to talk about our LLM programs. LLM programs worldwide are designed to offer opportunities for students to specialize in a specific field of law, especially fields that are of great importance to the global economy. And so as a global law school, we decided to design 2 LLM programs that would prepare students for leadership roles and impact in international law and diplomacy. And so while thinking about these 2 LLM programs, we thought we should put together a number of courses that would allow you to understand the workings and intricacies of international law and how you can become a professional leader in any of these fields. So the aim of the program simply is to provide innovative legal education, especially in fields needed in Qatar and the region. And our approach in designing the programs, you know, like as the Dean mentioned, many of us on faculty started our expertise in these fields by obtaining LLM degrees from Yale, Harvard, Columbia, NYU, and the likes. So we thought we could come here and fill a need in the region by designing world-class programs that would allow you to be able to conduct research and take courses as you would have been able to do if you were elsewhere. So This is like creating an international hub for research here in Doha. And of course, our approach is in line with Qatar's vision of becoming a leader in international law and diplomacy. So in this program, we emphasize interdisciplinarity a lot, which is we encourage our students to look beyond law, because for you to specialize, for example, I work a lot on environmental law, and environmental law is a mixture of law and science, including engineering and infrastructure as well. So we encourage students to think beyond just the confines of law in order to widen their expertise. We also introduce, we encourage our students to think about methodology as well, which is thinking deeply about whether you're trying to transplant best practices from different parts of the world, whether you're trying to, collate or gather facts about a narrow field. We have a strong methodology course taught by Professor D Metropolis, which will allow you to explore the different ways in which we conduct legal research. And of course, because the Qatar National Vision 2030 aims to establish Qatar as the hub for sustainable innovations, all of our courses emphasize how you can apply law to advance the QNV 2030, especially the role of law in commercializing innovations. We emphasize that in our program as well. And of course, the good thing, I mean, I have 2 LLMs, one from Canada, one from the United States, and both were large programs. The good thing about our program is that it is very, very small, and it is designed that way. Each year, we have just about 5 students in each of the programs. And that is designed to encourage our students to have a very close relationship with their professors in terms of their knowledge and in terms of widening their horizon. So you'll be in a small class that would allow you to express yourself and gain deep understanding of the intricacies of international law. In the next slide, you'd see that in terms of the specific objectives, as I've mentioned, Qatar is occupying a very significant role in international law, whether in fields of energy or in fields of business or in fields of international development. So we think the LLMs would allow students to begin to understand Qatar's role in these important fields, and how to be able to develop sharp and penetrating solutions that can allow Qatar to continue its leadership in these fields. So we encourage students to think of current issues and think of future problems, anticipate future problems, develop their research around current issues, and develop their research around future problems as well, such that they will be able to design a research program that would allow them to contribute to Qatar's leading role in an efficient, reasonable, creative, and sustainable manner. Of course, we also have some students, international students in our LLM program as well. So we allow them to think of how they can transplant best practices, whether from Qatar or from United States or Canada or wherever they are looking at, and how they can transplant those best practices to their own jurisdiction. And this has been quite successful. We've seen a number of students who have been able to design research that whether look at Qatar or even go beyond in terms of producing research that apply to the region as a whole or to international law as a whole. So the aim of the program is to allow students to be innovative in thinking of a solution to any of the key problems facing our current world, whether it's in trade or in environment or in development. And we give them the tools needed to be able to be proactive agents of change in those areas. And another key thing we hope to achieve with this program is that we emphasize the ethical dimensions of being an international lawyer. Everyone loves what international lawyers do, especially when you're able to use your skills to solve some of the pressing challenges facing the world. Maybe even your skills are in demand in the UN or in foreign ministries and the likes. But again, there are ethical dimensions to this as well. There is an expectation of how you should act and as a global lawyer. And so we have a specific global ethics course, which is currently taught by my colleague, Professor Alexander, that introduces you to to the ethical dimensions of being an international lawyer, the expectations, the skill set, including how to bill for your services as an international lawyer, which is very important as well. So we introduce you to these ethical aspects of the practice of international law. And one thing we hope to achieve with the LLM programs in the future is that they are meant to become a pipeline through which our students can then, maybe if you enjoy the research so much and you enjoy what you've been able to achieve in just 1 year, and you think I would want to develop this further and even become a global expert in this field, then of course the next stage is the PhD. And we have designed a unique Doctor of Juridical Science program, SJD degree, which is likened to a PhD, but of course the SJD is quite different in terms of its focus. But hopefully in the future, we'll be able to give our students the opportunity to develop their expertise along those lines. But of course, the program is still in the pipeline, but in the near future, we hope to be able to launch the SJD program as well. All right, well, so the objectives of the LLMs are quite clear. We have 2 of them. Both you can, the aim is that students can come in 12 to 18 months. So about 1 year, we hope that our students will be able to finish the LLMs. The first one is in economic and business law, and it is designed for lawyers, especially those with law degrees, working in maybe in international business or private practice, academia, government, and the judiciary. Those that wish to specialize in investment and business fields. And of course, you would understand, given Qatar's role as a hub for international business and commerce, we thought this program would provide you that world-class knowledge to be able to specialize in core fields of international economic and business law. So for example, students in this program are able to gain expertise in areas such as international business transactions, entrepreneurship, e-commerce, international trade law, international investment law, and the likes. So, international dispute resolution as well. And in this age of disputes, both regional and international dispute resolution is very key, and it allows you to gain the skill set needed to be able to advise whether states or businesses on how to resolve their disputes, whether using arbitration or conciliation or mediation and the likes. And of course, in this era of pandemic, online dispute resolution, ODR, is another area that we love to talk about. So this, like I mentioned, ideal for those already with a law degree. While our other program, the International Law and Foreign Affairs, we've designed this with a wider focus. That is, those without law degrees are able, those in certain fields, for example, non-lawyers in international relations, political science, economics, and other fields that are related to global affairs and governance are able to participate in this other LLM. And the aim of this LLM program is to expose you to the intricacies of foreign policy decision-making. Some of the global challenges facing the world are resolved at the international level, whether at the UN level or even at the regional level, with many of our regional bodies such as the League of Arab States or the GCC. There is a certain skill set needed to be able to actively participate at that level. And we find that in this program, many of our students have come from ministries, especially Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the likes, those that wish to specialize in international diplomacy work. This would be a very ideal program for them. And we have a number of interesting courses that prepare you with that skill set. We have, for example, you can specialize in energy law, infrastructure development, international dispute resolution, international criminal law. We have expertise in healthcare law, in sports law, in new technologies, anti-corruption, and the like. So, and of course, as the Dean mentioned, in humanitarian law as well. So this is a very interesting program for global affairs and governance lawyers who wish to immerse themselves in the fields of sustainable development and who wish to acquire the skill set needed to become leaders in negotiation and in representing states at the international level. So the programs, what we've done here, in the next slide, you'll see that it's a combination of practical and research-oriented courses. So the LLMs are designed to combine practice with research. So when you start the LLM, you would meet with Professor George in his class on research methods in law, which is meant to give you the essential skills needed to conduct world-class research. It is in this class that you understand how international law research is done and the expectations, the methodologies, and the likes. And students in this course have written papers that some of them are of publishable quality. So research method in law is the first and most important foundation for what will happen in the entire LLM year. And of course, I already mentioned the ethics of an international lawyer. So the global legal ethics course exposes you to the ethics, the ethical dimensions of the practice of international law. And it's a 3-credit course. And after this, you know, these are the core courses, but then you then have specialized, these 2 courses, research method and global legal ethics, cut across both LLMs. And then you can then narrow down to your core and elective courses in whichever LLM you choose to pursue. So for those in international economic and business law, they are then able to take contract law, commercial law, construction and infrastructure development, energy law, Islamic financial contracts, entrepreneurship, legal foundations of the global economy, and the likes. You would notice that these are all trade, business, and international investment oriented, and it just aligns with the goals of that program. The second one is the international law and foreign affairs, and students are able to then pick courses such as the global legal systems taught by Professor Llm, where you understand the convergence and divergence of the 3 principal schools of law, such as common law, Islamic law, and civil law. In the global legal systems course, you would understand that, and that is very useful for those in the international law and foreign affairs program. And of course, they would be able to take a specialist course in international law and then administrative law and regulations, where they are able to study how tribunals and ministries, departments, how they work, and how they make day-to-day decisions in terms of implementing laws. And the advanced international human rights law course is also very, very important to those in this specialist field, because then they are able to understand many of the core human rights instruments that underpin the obligations relating to human rights, enjoyment and protection of human rights at national, regional, and international levels. The global economic law and governance course, again, very, very important, at least for foreign diplomats to understand some of the economic instruments that shape international diplomacy. So that course will introduce them to that. And of course, for those that wish to specialize in some of the contemporary issues that are taking the center stage worldwide, such as media law, in this age of misinformation and social media, the media law course provides you the tool to understand international law in that area. And of course, we have sport law. Of course, there's no better time to think about sport law, because Qatar is the attention of the whole world, and it will be for the next few years due to the World Cup coming up. So sport law introduces you to the legal aspect of sports. You might not be kicking a football in class, of course, but of course you would understand many of the legal obligations that underpin, whether you are hosting an event or whether you want to you want to be part of the economic aspect of a sporting event. The sport law course taught by Professor Khalo would give you the skill set needed for that. And of course, we have the healthcare law, very, very important for Qatar. And you have our colleague, Professor Barry, who's been working tirelessly, focusing on precision medicine, the role of artificial intelligence and all of that in solving many of the health emergencies facing our current world. And of course, the current pandemic emphasizes the importance of law in healthcare. So if students have enjoyed that course a lot, because it lets them know that law is so important even in an era of pandemic. So, I mean, these are, important fields, and students can gain comparative knowledge, whether you're talking about new technologies or public policy making. And of course, I teach the environmental law course, which is also very key for those interested in international law and foreign affairs. over the last years, we've developed a very robust program with partnership with the United Nations, and students are able to enjoy or understand the role of the UN and the role of many other international bodies in terms of addressing some of the contemporary environmental issues facing our world, such as climate change and the stratospheric depletion of the ozone layer and the likes. So these are, you'll see that we have a wide range of courses that, prepare you, whether you want to specialize in environmental fields, or in business, or in commerce, or in health, or in sport. These are our key courses, and so we allow students to pick. It's a buffet of courses, so we allow students to pick which one will fit their specific needs. And key to all of that, after acquiring the key skills or the key knowledge in class, one thing that then we emphasize in the LLM program, like I mentioned, is that we like to see you apply that and turn that to a very comprehensive research work. So the LLM thesis is a cornerstone of the entire LLM program. So in addition to taking coursework, we expect students to then develop their own research. And this, the LLM thesis is designed to be 6 credits. And so students are able to focus on a narrow field, on a field that is of interest to them. Of course, you're able to work with, we assign you a supervisor that will help you develop that topic, that would help you fine-tune your thinking in that area. And at the end, we expect that students will be able to develop a thesis that is of publishable quality, that sets out analysis that are contemporary and of importance to the world. So the structure of the LLM is very clear. Like I mentioned, you're able to work with a world-class faculty member that would guide you in exploring your interest area. And of course, we expect that LLM thesis would achieve 3 key things. Number one is that the thesis should at least analyze the current legal framework. So the students should at least understand the current legal framework in that area. For example, whether it's healthcare, what is the current legal framework in Qatar or elsewhere in healthcare? Then we expect the students to identify a gap in current frameworks and then put forward reform using some of the skills they've developed in the class. And then, of course, we expect that after identifying the gaps, we hope that the LLM thesis will identify some recommendations and sharp policy reforms. So the LLM thesis is very key. And in the next slide, you would see that what we expect in the LLM thesis is originality, and we emphasize, and of course, when you take the research methods course, would expose you to some of the things to avoid in legal research and things to embrace in order to achieve original and analytical work. We hope some of our students have, some of those that finished from the LLM program have been able to develop work of publishable quality, very fascinating thesis in different areas, and we hope to see more of that. And of course, the most important aspect of the LLM program is that students are then able to defend their work before a thesis evaluation committee that will be able to ascertain whether the thesis is of that quality that we always hope to see. The thesis is supposed to be about 30,000 words, so which is quite manageable for a student studying in 1 year. And we see from experience that a student that is able to achieve the LLM thesis is normally prepared to conduct research at the highest level. So in the next slide, we'll see that the structure is very clear for the 2 programs, 8 courses, 25 credits, and then plus the LLM thesis of 6 credits, which gives you a total of 31 credit hours. So we also hope that the 31 credits will be obtained within 1 year. As I mentioned, our experience is that within 12 months or at most 18, students are able to finish the LLM program. And of course, we have our dedicated staff, Sandia, who is able to help you navigate through the steps such that you will be able to complete the program within 12 and at most 18 months. I think I've covered a lot, but in the next slide, you would see that this table just sort of breaks down everything I've been saying. The LLM in international economic and business law, you find that in the first semester, 13 credits, second semester, 12 credits. And so the 13 credits in the first semester, the compulsory research methods course, 3 credits, and then you can choose between contract or commercial law for 4 credits. And then you can also choose whether to take the construction and infrastructure development law or the energy law course. And then you have the Islamic financial contract, which is a course offered at our College of Islamic Studies, but for students that are interested in learning about Islamic financing, that's a very fascinating course. And in the second semester, you'd find the global legal ethics course, as I mentioned, and then entrepreneurship. So 13 credits in the first semester, 12 credits in the second semester. And of course, we always encourage students, even while taking these courses, they could start talking to their supervisor about their research as well. And then in the next slide, you see the same structure for the International Law and Foreign Affairs program, 9 credits of core courses, 10 credits of core courses, and then when you add the electives, is the same 13 in the first semester and 12 in the second semester. Because in the next slide, you'd see that for the International Law and Foreign Affairs, these are the elective courses that then make up the 13-12 division. So whether you want to focus on media law, sports law, healthcare, and global economic law and governance and the likes, these are the electives that are available to you in the International Law and Foreign Affairs program. And the key thing I should also mention in that slide, in the previous slide, is that in addition to our in-house expertise, you would see that we also have visiting professors that join us from different parts of the world to share their expertise with us. We have a course on remedies in international trade law that is taught by Professor Steinberg, who's been part of our program for many years, and the international investment law and global justice. Both are world-class, well-known professors in the US, and they join us regularly to share their expertise with our LLM and JD students. So the electives available are very rich, and they are designed to enhance your professional development in this field. So on a final note, I just want to summarize that the LLM programs are designed, to develop you to become the next generation of leaders that will take the lead in terms of Qatar's role in both economy, business, as well as in international diplomacy. So the LLM programs are designed to prepare the next generation of leaders for Qatar, for the region, and for the world as a whole. When you look at the complex problems facing the world today, whether in healthcare or in trade or in security, you see that these topics are very, very important and deserve continuous clarification and analysis. So this course will allow you to analyze law, whether in economic and business law or in foreign affairs. And we also hope that the LLM programs would allow you to take the lead for your, or the leap for your next stage, for the next stage of your international professional life. So the programs are meant to enhance the abilities of students, both intellectually and professionally, and of course, to prepare them for future research work in these fields, whether as a PhD or SJD student. And of course, we hope that what we have been seeing with our recent graduates and those that have been part of our program is that they enjoy the fact that the course allows them to think deeply about how they can use the instrument of law to advance Qatar's reputation as a country that is devoted to research, that is devoted to development, and that hopes to be the hub for international law. And so we hope that this LLM program, you find it suitable for you. And if you have any question, please feel free to reach out to myself, to the Dean, to Sandia, and to any of us, as a matter of fact. We look forward to working with you and to helping you, take the next step in your professional career. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Oluway, for the review of our LLM programs. And as he just mentioned, all of us are here to answer your questions, but there are two people in particular who are able to help you on some of the administrative side, and in particular, Nisha Dougal, whom I introduced earlier, and her contact information is up there. She can answer a lot of questions relating to just sort of some of the paper flow and things like that on our programs with the JD program, and Sandia is here for the graduate programs. I would encourage everybody, please, to use the chat function, the Q&A, to send in your questions. We already have 21 questions. We also, though, before going to the question and answers, as I mentioned earlier, we have the head of our admissions, Lana Usfer, who's here. And Lana, welcome to you. We're glad you could be with us. Could you just take a few minutes and walk through the admission requirements then? If you want to apply to the JD program, what do you need? If you want to apply to one of the master's programs, what do you need? And some of the questions, by the way, that have come in deal with aspects of this that perhaps, Lana, you can answer. So once you finish your presentation, I'm going to ask a couple of these questions directly to you, if that's okay.
Sure. Thank you, Dean Susan. Good evening, everybody. Great to see such a good turnout. And I actually have been taking a peek at some of the questions, some really great questions here about admissions, and hopefully some of them will be covered in the presentation that I do. But of course, I'm happy to address anything else that may come up or that's not covered here. So I wanted to start by just talking a little bit about sort of the basic core requirements for our university and for the college. So Professor Hillary in her talk about the JD program mentioned that the sort of minimum basic requirement, admission requirement for the JD program is to have a 3.0 GPA out of 4. This is actually applicable to all of Hamad bin Khalifa University. So it's also applicable to the LLM programs. The JD program is open to applicants from all fields, which, as you can imagine, makes for a very interesting class. So you'll probably hear more about this when you engage with the professors, but we've had doctors in the class, we've had engineers, we've had people with a background in art, in business, in a whole range of academic areas. So you can apply to the JD program irrespective of what you have studied. For the other programs, there are some sort of more specific requirements. So for the LLM in International Economic and Business Law, you do need to have either a bachelor degree in law, so an LLB, or a JD in order to be considered for admission to that program. It's the same minimum requirement, but preference will be given to those who have above a 3.0 GPA, so at least a 3.3. The same goes for the LLM in International Law and Foreign Affairs. Preference is to have at least a 3.3 GPA out of 4. A little bit more flexibility in terms of areas of study. So you can see there's a long list here in areas of social sciences, law, international relations, political science, and a range of other areas. But again, strong preference will be given to those who have studied law, international relations, political science, or economics. And again, all of this information is available on the website. You can also email us if you've studied a field and you're not sure about whether or not you would be eligible for admissions. Please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we would be happy to sort of guide you and give you a better sense of whether or not you may be eligible based on your field of study. The other sort of main requirement, again, this is generally a university requirement for most of our programs, is that you need to demonstrate strong proficiency in English. So you must submit an IELTS score of a minimum of 6.5 or a TOEFL score of 79. However, it is possible to be exempt. So if you have done your undergraduate studies, or if you have a master's degree and you've done your studies entirely in English, and you are able to provide a letter, an official letter from your university confirming this, then we can exempt you from taking the IELTS or TOEFL. If you studied in a bilingual program where you were doing, for example, let's say, just as an example, let's say legal studies in Arabic as well as in English, you would not be exempt. You would need to take the IELTS or the TOEFL exam. Again, if you have specific questions about your situation, feel free to email us and we can advise accordingly. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the application requirements. I've put a link here that takes you directly to where you can read more about the requirements. So everything I'm talking about here is mentioned on the website, as well as the link that you need to go to in order to access our online application. We must receive all of your academic transcripts. So if you've done more than one degree, if you've done a bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree, if you've done a bachelor's degree in more than one institution, so you transferred midway through, we need to see it all. We need to learn about your entire academic history. And your transcripts do need to show us individual grades for every single course that you received. So just submitting to us your graduation statement or sort of a general statement with your overall average is not going to be sufficient. We really do need to have a very thorough understanding of your academic history. If you are coming from a university that is not using a 4.0 GPA system, then you do need to provide a grading scale for your university. This is very important, and we ask that you please include that with the application. Many of your universities have this available on their website. Some of them have it included on the back of your transcript, or you can request such a document from the university registrar. Please do not include with your application any external evaluations of your grades or conversion of your grade point average to a 4.0 or a US system, because we do our own internal, we have our own internal methodology for converting your grades. So please just give us what you get directly from the university, being your transcripts as well as a grading scale. If you are coming from Qatar University, from any university that is using the 4.0 scale, then you do not need to submit a grading scale. If you are required to take IELTS or TOEFL, we do need you to submit that result with your online application. Again, if you can provide an exemption letter from your university, please submit that in place of the IELTS or TOEFL exam. The next requirement is the personal statement. And I do recall that there was a question in the Q&A about the personal statement. Somebody asked, what should we talk about here? The personal statement is an extremely important part of the application, and it's the one part of the application, this and the next point, the research proposal, that you really have a lot of control over. So use this as an opportunity to introduce yourself to the admissions committee. You may or may not have a chance to meet, speak to, converse with members of the admission committee. So use this as your opportunity to tell them why you are interested in the program, to tell them a little bit about your background, your academic background, if you've had work experience, and most important of all, what is it that you plan to do with this degree that you are seeking to take from HBKU. Next is the research proposal. The research proposal is only required for applicants to the LLM programs, and it should be a maximum of 1,000 words. So that also needs to be included along with the online application. And then we have a few other requirements, such as a passport. If you are living in Qatar, you should also include your ID, as well as a resume or CV, and 2 recommendation letters. Preferably, these should be coming from academic referees. So if you graduated a very long time ago, you have absolutely no contact with any of your faculty from your university, you could substitute those with recommendations from individuals who you've worked with, but again, the preference is at least one to be from a professor who has taught you. The deadline for admission is March 15th. This is the deadline for residents and nationals. So the deadline for international students was February 1. It has already passed. So if you are an international student, you will need to wait until next year to apply if you have not already submitted your application. If you are an international student living in Qatar. So if you are studying at Qatar University, in Education City, at Doha Institute, any of the universities based here in Qatar, you are still enrolled and you are living here, you can still apply until March 15th. So while you would technically be an international student because you are currently residing here, we do allow you to apply up until March 15th. That's all I have in terms of requirements. I hope I've been able to answer some of the questions that some of you had that were posted in the chat. I've also mentioned here a couple of different ways you can get more information. So obviously we have our website, which has plenty of information. If you have specific questions about the college, about curriculum, you want to connect with a faculty member, the best way to do so would be to email cl@hbku.edu.qa. If your questions are specific to admissions, please email us at admissions.cl@hbku.edu.qa. I'm also going to type it in the chat so that you can just copy that onto your phone or into your records, so you have that. It's also mentioned on the website though. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and talk to you about admissions, and again, happy to answer any further questions that anybody might have.
Well, thank you so much, Lana. And you did address a number of the questions that already came in the chat, but one of them is timing of admission decisions. The applications are coming in. When will a student typically hear it? And then I think that after hearing from Lana on that, I think it would be good for Professor Bell to just talk a bit about, I know that they have an interview process and what they expect, and also Professor Damilo about your process. And there was a question, Professor Damilo, about the personal statement for the masters, and I know that Lana just picked up on that, but if there's anything that is unique to the personal statement for the master's degree. So Lana, if you could just, in terms of timing of decisions, and then we'll hear from Professor Bell and then from Professor Oluway. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, that's a very good question. So we do start to release admission decisions sometime towards the end of April, so around the 3rd week of April. We do not have an exact date, and admissions is, we will not issue all decisions at the same time, but students will start to receive decisions during the 3rd week of April.
Okay, great. Thank you. Professor Bell, do you want to talk a bit about, you chair the admissions committee for the JD program. Do you just want to talk a little bit about the process, what a candidate is like?
I do. I've got about 8 or 9 questions that have come in that I'd like to address about the JD, and then I've got about 3 questions I would like to pose to Dami about the LLM that have come through. First and foremost, a few people have asked for the slides. We've shared with you Sandia and Nisha's contact details. Please reach out to them. If someone can share their email addresses in the chat, please reach out to Nisha and Sandia if you want a copy of the slides. Someone's asked, how can I improve my chance of acceptance? Providing you've got a 3.0 GPA and the relevant English language requirement, you're eligible for the programme. How you can improve your chance of acceptance will be based on your personal statement. We will also take into account your CV and your previous academic history and any work history, any research you've undertaken. Those aren't things that you can change in the short term. Please set out everything that you've done in your CV, but between now and applying, you're not going to be able to change your past history. So for what you can do today to improve your chance of success is to really express to us in your personal statement why you want to do a JD or an LLM and why you want to pursue that at the HBKU. The internet has very good examples and information on how to write a successful personal statement for law school. Start your research now, start thinking like a lawyer now and get out, do some research, see some good examples, but also tell us from the heart, why are you interested in this programme? The admissions process is the files you will apply online. It can be accessed through the website. If you have any problems, contact admissionscl@hbku. And the process is your file will be reviewed by the admissions team, and they will be checking if you can be accepted into the programme, and that will come down to your English language abilities and your 3.0 GPA. Lana, someone had asked if they did high school in English, if that would be acceptable to not do the TOEFL. You can come back on after Dami and I are done to answer that. I suspect you may still have to do your TOEFL if your degree is not in English, but that's a Lana question. The process is we will review your file once you've passed through the filter of admissions. If you did not get a 3.0, we don't see your file, it will stop at the admission stage. If you've got the relevant requirements to get in the JD, your application will be reviewed by the admissions committee. What we will look at is what's your background, why are you interested in the degree, and we will compare that to the other applicants. If you've got a solid reason for wanting to study the degree and appear that you would be able to flourish in our programme, there's a very high chance you will be accepted to the programme. You may be interviewed, it's not guaranteed. We may have some questions for you. We might want to clarify that you've understood the difference between a JD and an LLM and the difference between a JD and a PhD. We might want to question if there's any misunderstandings there, or just tell you a bit more about the programme, but an interview is not always required. Someone has asked about the student to teacher ratio. In class, the student to teacher ratio is usually about 10 students per faculty member. You will have more access to your professors in our degree. I think I can risk saying this than in any other degree in the world. We have a very small student body. We have a relatively large faculty relevant to our student body, I think appropriately, possibly 3 to 1. That's not something to be concerned about. One of the questions, we've had several questions about funding and scholarship. There is no scholarship available. This is not means tested. This is not merit tested. There is no funding available to fund a student for their studies. I have to be clear on that. Some students may receive a discount of up to 80% of the fees for this course. That will be merit-based. The best students will be offered a discount on their fees to attract them to the college. There is limited discounts available that would usually go to the top, say, 7 students that would apply, but there is absolutely no funding. Some people have asked questions about how you can find funding for postgraduate education in Qatar. Unfortunately, that's outside the scope of what the law school can advise you on. I would suggest to get your research hat on and see if you can find means to find funding, but that's not something that we can advise you on.
Professor Bell, on the tuition waiver that you just mentioned, just so we clarify, there are a limited number of them, but they're only for the Juris Doctor, the JD program, correct?
Yes, yes. I'm only speaking for the JD program.
Okay,
yes,
great.
I'm not aware of any funding available for the LLM program. However, I will not tread on Professor Damilola's toes. He can confirm that, but my understanding is that.
Yeah.
Now, I would invite Dami to also chime in on this, but some people have asked, should I take the LLM or should I take the JD? I'll tell you my opinion, and then you can hear from Professor Oluway, because he may come in with a very different opinion, and then you can critically choose which of us, whose advice you think is more appropriate to you. I would say if you already have an initial law degree, or you already have an LLM, and you're trying to decide which degree to take, either of these would be appropriate for you. It comes down to you. What are you trying to get from this degree? If you want to specialise in a particular area of law and get to know that area a lot better, if you want to improve your research capabilities, as Dami said, the research methods in law course available with the LLM is outstanding. I don't think there's another course like it in the world that will teach you how to do legal research and write and become a legal academic, publishable quality of work. If that's your ambition, I would say do the LLM. If you're already in a career where you're looking to develop your skills and your leadership skills to learn a bit more about the law generally that you can apply in your job, I think the JD would be more appropriate. But if you're in this situation, please feel free to reach out to Damilo or myself individually and discuss this further so we can understand what you're trying to get from the degree and which we would recommend to you. Someone has also asked about the requirements for their individual company, if they want, sorry, their individual country, if they want to become an academic in their country, which degree should they take? I cannot advise you about your individual country. What you would need to do is find out from them what they would require you to do to pursue that career. I can advise you about Qatar, but not about other jurisdictions, I'm afraid. I could advise you about the United Kingdom, but not other jurisdictions. So a few questions that I'd like to put over to Dami now. How many years is the LLM? And this is a question I think that you've sort of addressed, but maybe we can make it a bit more specific. What students from EC, from Education City, can transition into the LLM? Are those questions clear, Damilo?
Yeah, yes, I think you already gave a very good account of everything, and I just want to say that for the LLM program as well, we do not have any form of funding or waivers at all. And the reason is that we've kept the price of our LLM program so low, such that it is competitive and very attractive. When you look at the prices of LLM programs in the world, you find that ours has been kept intentionally very low in order to offer a chance to students to acquire world-class knowledge here in Qatar. So as a result of that, we always encourage our applicants to seek support from their employers or from other entities that are able to support that specialist knowledge that they wish to acquire. So we do not have funding at all for the LLM programs as well. And in terms of the point you already touched upon, which is, should I go for the JD or for the LLM? Another distinction, you already mentioned the distinctions, but another key one is that the JD program is a 3-year program, which is meant to give you that in-depth knowledge on the foundations of the law, especially if you aspire to meet bar and licensing requirements in Qatar or elsewhere. You need that 3-year program to prepare you for what is law, how is law practiced, and all of that. So it's a 3-year program for that in-depth knowledge on the foundations of law. Whereas the LLM program is a 1-year program. It's meant to give you exactly the courses you need to be able to specialize in a field. So it all depends on a person's aspirations and why you want what you want to do afterwards. So I think for those that are just wishing to have a degree in which they will be able within 12 months to have in-depth understanding of a specific narrow field of law, then the LLM program will be that one that can lead you to that next level. And of course, Professor Hillary mentioned the fact that the LLM program is also significantly research-oriented. So, a bulk of what we do in the LLM program is research. You have to write a thesis of 30,000 words, so it's designed for those that wish to acquire the research skills needed to work with government or to work in international organizations such as the UN and the like. So that in-depth focus on research would help you to be able to take that next level. And I think that is a key distinction between both. Did I answer all the questions? Is there any other one? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dami.
Thank you so much, Professor Bell and Professor Oluway, for those answers. If I could just chime in on the JD versus the LM, I think that one critical thing is getting back to what Dr. Damilo has said. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to have all the skills to say that I'm trained as a lawyer, you need to go and get qualified as such through the JD program. That is absolutely essential. And there are people who feel it in their heart. You may say, I want to become a lawyer. I've studied engineering. I've studied media. I really want to now take this and become an advocate. And then that's why you would need to have the 3-year JD degree. And also our LM is in specialized areas. So if you say, well, I don't want to be a lawyer, but I really want to focus on international law, for a year and write a thesis, then that would probably be a little better avenue for that. There's some other questions that came in that some of them are a little more specialized about the difference between the JD and a PhD. And Professor Bell touched on this, is the Juris Doctor degree is a first degree in law, but it also in the United States is recognized as the final degree to enable you to teach at law schools. But in some countries, you need to perhaps have a PhD in law. So it's up to your country whether they would recognize the JD as giving you that qualification. In the United States, the American Bar Association says the JD is the equivalent of the PhD in law. So for the questioner who sent that in, I would again encourage you to look at your own country and get that issue resolved. Professor Damilo, there was a question about the LLM. If you could just explain a little bit more about the length of it. It's a one-year program, but there was a specific question, 1 or 2 years, because I think the 2 years may have come in as well.
Yes, ideally it's a one-year program, and that's why we say 12 months. So 12 months. But I said ideally because it depends on the student, and you know, because you have to submit the thesis. So if you really want to finish it in 12 months and you're able to submit the thesis, that's fine. And we've had some students, finishing and defending their thesis close to 12 months. So that is what we want. That's the ideal. But we leave that extra 6 months if you need it. So ideally, it's 1 year. That's 12 months. If you're able to come in, take the courses, and do the research and submit your thesis, that's what we want.
Great, thank you. Lana, do you see the questions that just came in? There was a current master's student in HBKU. If they're a master's student in HBKU in an English language program, I guess, would they still need to submit a waiver of the English language? And then,
I see that.
Yeah, you see those?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sure. Yeah, thank you. So I think the question was from Reem. Reem, it's going to depend on what you're studying at HBKU. So if you are currently enrolled in one of our English programs, I mean, pretty much all of our programs are English with the exception of one of our programs in Islamic studies, then you do not. You are automatically exempt. This would also apply to graduates of Education City. So anyone who graduated from Carnegie Mellon, Georgetown, any of the universities in Education City, you would also be exempt from providing the confirmation that you studied in English, because we already know that you have. So for HBKU, if you're studying in the Islamic Studies program, the one which is taught in Arabic, then you will need to take IELTS or TOEFL unless your bachelor studies were in English. And then somebody's asking here, Najwa's asking about taking the IELTS exam during your studies. Unfortunately, that's not possible. IELTS or TOEFL are admission requirements, so those are things that you would need to provide us with at the time of application. There was another question about GPA. The GPA requirement is not something that's negotiable in any way at all. It's 3.0 for all of our programs, minimum 3.0, and as I highlighted, for some programs, there's a preference to even have higher than that. And this is really a policy. The 3.0 is a policy across the entire university, irrespective of which program you're applying to. I did also see a question from Roy. I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, to send me an email, because your program sounds quite specific. Your question, excuse me, sounds quite specific. So if you can just write to me at the law email address, admissions.cl, and I'm happy to respond to any of your questions or concerns.
Great, thank you. If
I may, I see a question here about the research proposal for the LLM. If I don't have a topic in mind, what should I do? What I would recommend is that if you have an area in mind, a field in mind, so whether it's health or sports or environment or energy, that is a good starting point. and then you can then, you know, start thinking of what interests you in that field and develop a research around, you know, and develop a topic around that. What we also recommend is if you are interested in a field that you've identified, then you can send an email to any of our faculty members working in that field, and they will definitely be happy to have the, you know, a short discussion with you to guide you, you know, as you think of the research proposal. So that would be my advice, I think. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Damilo. A question just came in about internships and internship opportunities. So I will let Professor Bell go ahead and take that, and Professor Solomon, you may want to chime in on a new initiative we're working on as well in that respect, if that's okay. But Professor Bell?
Yes, I see a question about internship. Let me just get it. Please touch on the opportunity of internships. Where have students interned in the past? We have had students intern at Squire Patton Boggs, an international law firm. We've had students go to the International Court of Justice. We've had students go to the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. I myself was previously a practicing lawyer in Qatar. I worked in construction law and arbitration, and I had an HBKU student come and intern in the office with me, and she did phenomenal work. She worked in my office with me for 2 weeks, conducting legal research, writing advice notes for clients. It was obviously fully supervised, but HBKU graduates have an excellent reputation in the marketplace. I've had feedback from all the employers that I've mentioned in Doha, singing the praises of our students. If you have a particular internship in mind that you would like to explore, we will work with you on that. That's happened a number of times. Students have come and said, this is an opportunity I'm interested in. Can you create pathways for me to have an internship with that organisation? And we have been very successful. I had a student contact me saying, I'd like to go and work at Qatar Rail, and we were able to set up an internship with Qatar Rail. So there are an abundance of opportunities. If you would like to do an internship, I'm confident we'll be able to set that up for you. Barry, do you want to say a bit more about this?
There was a follow-up question there about whether the internships are fully funded. Have any of those that you've mentioned, Hilary, had funding?
And not that they weren't paid. No, paid internships are quite a common feature, I think, in the US. And you'll remember yourself, Barry, I think maybe about 20% of law internships in the UK are funded, but not more than that. No, not that I'm aware of, that people were actually paid to go in and do the work. What you have to appreciate with a law firm is if you're training someone as a lawyer, you're unable to charge for that time. So what it costs law firms to have interns in, it usually costs them money to have someone come in and take the time to train them. So it's unusual in most markets outside the US for an internship to be paid, but I'm not aware that there have been paid internships to date. We have had internships at the International Court as well.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Bell. And I'll just add a little bit. We are looking to formalize the internship program in the College of Law through the Law Society. We've also got a very fantastic and active Law Society. And we've got more internship opportunities coming up soon, which are due to be announced. So I'm with local international law firms based locally. So we do take that quite seriously. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of opportunities for students moving forward in that regard.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor Bell, and also Professor Solomon. I'm just reading, the Dean established a committee to provide funding for those looking at academic performance. Can this committee help us? I'm happy to answer that question. The College of Law has, as Professor Bell said, we have limited tuition waivers for partial tuition waivers for the JD program. That is all that has been allocated us by the Hamad bin Khalifa University. So we don't have stipends and living expenses and the like. So the the tuition waivers are decisions that are made at the for the JD program only, and at the time of admission, or shortly thereafter, after there has been if there's been an acceptance, then for certain qualified candidates there would be a partial tuition waiver that is offered. But the other aspects of the scholarship policy apply to actual stipends, living stipends, and travel expenses to get students from outside the country here, and we just are not funded that way.
There is another question here on the
Go for it.
On the timing for LLM. I guess timing in terms of when do we have our classes, maybe. And I would say it's right now it's in the evening, like the JD program. So we normally start at 4 p.m. and most of our classes start at 4. And I think that has been very helpful for those working during the day to be able to come in and take their classes in the evening. Thank you.
Great. And the 4 to 8 time for our classes is typically it's Sunday through Wednesday. Sometimes we have class on a Thursday, but this enables our students, as Professor Bell and Professor Oluway mentioned, a chance to work. So a lot of our students are working, and they bring to the classroom information about what they're doing in work, which I think enriches the environment of the classroom a great deal. Lana, there is a question here. If one has a GPA 3.3 below, but have sound academic and sound SOP, is permissible? I'm not quite sure.
Susan, I'm actually, the more specific questions, I'm just typing responses to because they're quite specific. So I think they're asking, somebody's saying that their GPA is below 3.3, excuse me. So I'm assuming it's somewhere between 3 and 3.3. And I just responded that the minimum is 3 for all programs, and that preference is, preference is given to applicants who are 3.3 or higher for LLM. However, an application between 3 and 3.3 may still be reviewed for LLM, but preference is for 3.3.
Okay, and great. And I see Roy has a question there that maybe, Roy, why don't you go ahead and coordinate that with Lana, if that's okay? Do you see his question, Lana?
Yeah, I replied with my email, yeah.
Okay, great, super. All right, we're looking at all the questions coming in. I think we covered everything. Just give it another minute, but for everyone who's here today, first I gather after you listen to the presentations and start thinking about what is going on in this world, and how you can develop the skills to address today's problems, anticipate the new problems, and help solve them. If you want to be involved in that, our College of Law is the place to be. And one thing I would like to emphasize that both my colleagues did is that we are dedicated to our students, given the deliberate attempt to keep the class size small so that we can give the individual attention to our students and to help them both in terms of their studies, but also help them professionally. This is so important, particularly in the legal community, to enable our students to meet lawyers, meet judges, work with companies and the like. So this is absolutely essential, and that is something we can do very well because of the size of our student body. I see there was one more question, but it looks like Lana, you could probably address that one offline too, just dealing with a specific matter. Okay, do you see the question, Lana, about the grade point average.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. So, I mean, so, admission is holistic. So, as long as you meet the minimum admission requirement, which is a 3, then it becomes more about what you offer as a person. It's a holistic process. So the admissions committee will look in more detail at your transcript, at your courses. If you have a specific situation with a Y, I'm assuming that's an incomplete. Yes, incomplete. And you explain that, and you've written a strong personal statement, and you have a compelling research proposal. I mean, these are, the committee will look at so many different factors. So in the beginning, when we mentioned that 3.3 is preferred for the LLM program, that's really what it is. It's a preference. It does not mean that if your GPA is 3.2 or 3.25, that you're not going to be considered. It's a preference. I hope that helps to answer your question. I think you said that you're at Education City. Feel free to email me. I'm sorry, we're not accepting visitors. Otherwise, I would have had you come by and we could chat in person. But just send me a message at the law email, the admissions email, and we can talk about this further.
Well, great. I think all the questions have now come in. And first, I would like to thank my colleagues, Professor Bell, Professor Oluway, Lana Asfor, and my faculty colleagues who are still here, as well as Dr. Azinaga, Dr. Solomon, Dr. Polemanepolo, Dr. D Metropolis, and Dr. Khalo. And we also had enormous help from the college in Nisha and Sandia, and the staff at communications, and so we would like to thank them. But this was for the audience, a chance for you to learn more about our amazing college, and I trust that we covered a lot, but I hope more than anything there's a sense of excitement about what is going on in Education City at Hamad bin Khalifa University College of Law. This is a chance for you to become part of a community that is dedicated to change and to work with legal concepts to do so. And as Professor Bell said earlier, to help prepare you to become a leader. That is what we expect with our graduates. And the environment here is conducive to that. And so with that, I wish everybody, first, stay safe. Secondly, we look forward to hearing from you and getting your applications. Third, I believe we have all the contact information has been made available to you, but feel free to write us directly for additional information. And I know that if you want a copy of today's PowerPoint as well, please email Sandia or Anisha, Lana, we can get that information to you. So with that, I trust everybody will have a good evening. So thank you so much.